Come on, Percy. We're going to be late.
Are you sure this is the way to the museum? Isn't it at Vickerstown?
No, that's the regular museum. The treasure exhibition is at the Maritime Museum.
Oh. What's a maritime museum anyway? No, seriously. What does maritime mean?
Percy, it's just a museum about the sea.
The Thomas Creator Collective videos have been an awesome addition to the Thomas and Friends YouTube channel, showcasing some of the best fan-made content from a very talented team. It's a pretty good way to promote the Thomas toys by showing kids and parents how much fun can be had with the products. Back when the project first began, I assumed that it would only be a one-off, a special for the fans and celebration of the content available, only with stricter conditions set down by Head, for the content in terms of the story and subject matter. But surprise surprise, it seemed that it would be turned into a series. So I'm going to be looking at all the different categories and how the series had evolved. Also be aware that I will only be taking into consideration all the specials up to the return of the Diesel, because everything after that is just ridiculous. Seriously, what the hell is this thing? Star Wars? Or is that supposed to be Guardians of the Galaxy? Here you are dealing with some of the best Thomas modelers and YouTubers in the game. Calebtrain particularly is very good and impresses me a lot, as his models are second to none in terms of the weathering and customization. There is also Enterprising Engine 93's Wooden Railway stuff, and the various Take-N-Play and Trackmaster toys are also pretty good. One thing I will criticize, however, is the use of the CGI faces. In some scenes, we see Diesel D199's Trackmaster toys with CGI faces, and then for the rest of the feature, we see the static faces on the characters. It's inconsistent. If the CGI faces are there, why not make use of the technology and apply them to various characters across the different mediums? I also didn't like how they made the entire Superman and Batman ending scene with just CGI. I didn't like it in general, but that's my point about the visuals in that episode. I actually have no issue with the idea of switching toy brands between scenes. It showcases the best of each Creator Collective members' layouts and adds a bit more to the visual element. On top of that, it means you can do more and see more sets of different people throughout the Creator Collective. However, I would have loved to see what could be done with a more consistent approach. For example, one episode filmed entirely with Wooden Railway, another done with only Trackmaster, another done with only Model Railway, and so on and so forth. Given that you have some of the most gifted musicians in the fandom working on this project, you are guaranteed some good tunes and many good scores. Guys like the Tuggster Intensifies and UpsideNow music bring the music of Junior Campbell, Mike O'Donnell and Robert Hartshorn together and blend it together beautifully with their own style. Kind of like how Hartshorn did it in The Adventure Begins, mixing the old themes with a more modern tune. Despite the positives I've been talking about, a lot of people, including me, have become, let's say, increasingly delusioned with the storylines from the Creator Collective. According to me, it's just the same storyline but packaged slightly differently. Diesel 10 hatches a plan, Thomas and the other engines find out and fight against it. There's always a chase or two. Classic content is either quoted or referenced in some way. The steam engines win and the diesel engines lose. For years we have suffered through the same old story structure, just being packaged slightly differently. Storylines where for years the moral of the story had to be shoehorned in to fit around the rigid story structure which the show had created for itself. We're basically getting the same thing here. Before the YouTube comments were removed, you could see that all fans were praising the show. A little too much praise in fact. I mean, sure it was made by fans, but still. I mean, when the TCC were producing these, people loved them. But when the show made the great race, people started to complain. The Creator Collective really needed to diversify its writing team. Let someone with fresh ideas take the lead for once. There are some incredible writers out there in the fandom who could come up with some pretty good story ideas, which could be outstanding. This would be better than the same storyline, albeit loosely repackaged with some different elements mixed in. A new writer taking the lead could have been much better in my opinion. The argument we have been getting is that Hit likes these things, but there's only so often that you can employ these type of plot devices. You don't need to have a chase in every feature, and you also don't need to play on the Steam versus Diesel rivalry in every storyline you do. It's dull, it's repetitive, and it was becoming a little ridiculous. If it was a TV series, we would be complaining non-stop about it. Somehow, here, it's not an issue. Why, you may ask? It's because it's fan content, so we should not criticize it. Also, we don't need constant quotes, catchphrases and references to past episodes. The standalone episode, Rescue the Runaway, is a prime example of this. The story is basically a mashup of Put Up on Percy, Old Ireland, and a little bit of the finale of The Adventure Begins chase scene. It's a decent enough story, but when you're making it so obvious that you're trying to push the classic content, it gets very stale very quickly indeed. Another criticism I see raised umpteen times over is D199's representation in the voice cast. In one scene for Gordon's Grand Adventure, you have him voicing Thomas, Gordon and the Fat Controller, and it's really difficult to tell who's who because they sound so similar. There are some brilliant voiceovers for the Fat Controller out there. Tardisrescue is a particular favorite who would likely be willing to do it. But again, it's too much of the same thing, and this is where the Creator Collective was falling down. Overall, I have no quarrel with the voice acting quality. There are some voices which I find are a bit flat in terms of performances. Dennis in The Mouse was pretty lifeless, as if the actor is just reading the lines as opposed to actually acting them out. There's no feeling. It reduces the drama and the suspense by a lot. It seemed that after the return of the Diesels, the downfall of the TCC had begun. It seemed that the heads wanted to appeal to more younger kids as it went on. This in result got us weird things like the Superstation episodes and the Galaxy episodes. What is that supposed to do? What is that meant for? And what are these things? And these Galaxy things? Are these supposed to be like Star Wars ripoffs or something? The stories also started to get more babyish and more boring. They also started to use only engines by the brands, so that means no customs were allowed. And due to the aesthetic being changed so much, it was starting to get very boring and stupid in my opinion. I mean, really? You call these engines? They also only allowed new trackmasters, so there goes another one. And due to this change, many creators had to actually leave the TCC. And we finally then got to the last episode of the TCC, which was absolutely terrible. I don't even remember what happened in it. It was something related to Nia and elephants, I think. See, I forgot. It's so bad. While the TCC did start out on a high note, went out with just a little puff. No pun intended. Undoubtedly, the Creator Collective videos were one of the best videos to come out of the fandom. However, due to the interference of the heads, it got watered down to your typical kids show. A funny fact is that the TCC started going downhill right about the time the main series started to go downhill, and its replacement was a Yeah, it's better if we don't talk about that. I do like this part though. But still, we all should appreciate the TCC for bringing so many creators together to make a series. It had many flaws that could have been fixed, but it had also many positives too. So with that, here is to all the creators who helped in the Thomas Creator Collective to make it what it was and is today. Thank you for watching.